Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's live streaming event. Talking very slowly to make sure that you're all in and watching together. So welcome. Today is the 26th of October. It's 2:30 and we have a special guest for you all about Vegetarian for Life and a cooking demo for 4 tasty dishes. So if this is your first time watching our live events, hello. We at Barchester Healthcare provide regular virtual events as part of our provision of entertainment and activities for our residents and patients. So welcome to all who are watching today, and hopefully many of you have joined us before. Today we are joined by special guest Alex Connell, who is a chef from UK charity Vegetarian for Life, who aim to improve the quality of life for older vegetarians and vegans across the UK. So today Alex will cook 4 tasty vegetarian treats for everyone to enjoy, and we would love your feedback on what you like or don't like from what your chefs have provided today. So before we meet Alex, I just want to remind all of our staffing teams on the setup and tech requirements of these virtual events. So do remember, this event is streamed live through a Zoom meeting. So if you're watching on Zoom, make sure you have your view as speaker view, so you see the event and not the other homes who are watching today. We have spotlighted all guests, so you should be able to see them on your screen larger, like hopefully I am today. But for those watching on Zoom, if you have any technical questions, we have another Lucy in the background to support. So make sure you direct any messages to the hosts if needed, and Lucy's just writing in the chat there for you right now. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to say hi and give your home name in the comments. Many of you already have, which is great. So make sure that you do that, and also any comments or questions, get them into the comment section on YouTube. And finally, if you have any questions or comments generally throughout this whole demonstration today for Alex, please get them into either the comments on YouTube or the chat on Zoom, and I will join Alex ad hoc, depending on how many come in throughout this whole live streaming session. So now we're going to introduce Alex, who should be spotlighted, and there we go, a larger on the screen. Hi Alex, how are you doing?
Hi Lucy, doing very well. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Thank you for joining us again this October Halloween themed. It's been since May since you joined us last, so how have you been?
Oh, very well, thank you. Very well. Yeah, I mean, life in I'm in Manchester here. It's been sunny every single day. You know, it's not. But I'm really excited to be back. I'm invited back and cook all these lovely Halloween themed dishes today.
And we are excited to see them, learn about how you cook them, and then hopefully our homes and residents and patients will get to taste them a little later on as well. So I'm going to run off and leave you to your event today, and I'll be back on for any questions or comments around the dishes later on. So have fun, Alex, and thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me back, and thank you for everyone for tuning in to watch. If you were with me last time in May, I think it was around about May, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any sort of comments, please do email them in, and we can chop and change and improve. But today is a Halloween themed collection of recipes. Now, I hope that the chefs in your homes and establishments have prepared some of these. They might have put their own twists on a few of the recipes, which is absolutely fine. But today I'm going to show you how to make a lovely root vegetable tagine. It really is wonderful. It's got lots of healthy vegetables in there. It's got some chickpeas in there. It's got some nice spices and tomatoes. Really lovely. And I'm going to get into that in a second, but I'm also going to I've got to remind myself, I've got all my trays over here. I'm going to make a mac and cheese, but this one, the version I'm making anyway, is slightly different because I'm not going to actually use cheese. Now, I think some of the chefs that are making it may do it this way, or they may do it in a more traditional way using cheese. And I'll kind of talk about that when we get there. I'm also going to make some flapjack. Now, flapjack, it's one of those sort of little, is it a biscuit? Is it a cake? I'm not sure, but there's so many variations on it, so many different things you can put in it. And I was talking to the team about how to kind of just give this a little bit of an autumnal feel. But by adding some nice spices to that, it just gives it that sort of, that slightly Halloween theme, but certainly something that's that you will enjoy and hopefully have this afternoon. Let's see. And finally, I'm going to make for you some chocolate pots. Now, these little chocolate pots use tofu, and I'm going to talk about tofu when we get to it. And to serve that, I'm going to make a homemade biscuit as well. So I've got my work cut out this afternoon. I do really welcome any questions as we go along. If there's anything that you're unsure about, or you've just kind of got an interest about what we're doing, then do ask. So we've got an hour or thereabouts, so let's make a start. So I'll just get my tray here. Ooh, just lift this. Quite a few ingredients in. Now, I want to get my onions cooking. Let's get the cooker on. I do apologise. This is going to make a few beeps and whirs, so I apologise about that. But let's get a little bit of oil in the pan, and then I'm going to just get my onions in to be going on with, and then I can talk about this recipe. Now, this recipe, get rid of that. This recipe is a root vegetable tagine. Now, a tagine it's a North African dish. And it can mean loads of different things to different people, depending on regions. And the theme of it is basically, it's a casserole. That's what it is. It's just got a different name, and it's cooked in a slightly different part of the tagine. That's why it's got its name. But it's essentially, it's a stew or it's a casserole. Okay, there's all sorts of different ingredients that can go into that. So today, to keep in with a nice autumnal feel and a little bit Halloweeny, I've got all sorts of wonderful root veg to go in. Now, I've got a pumpkin. Now, pumpkins, you'll see them in the shops all over the place, and there's all sorts of different varieties of pumpkins and squashes. Now, the ones to go for eating, that make the best eating, they're all edible, but the ones that make the best eating are the smaller ones. These have got the most flavour. The big ones, the ones that you carve, are a little bit watery, a little bit fibrous. They are edible, you don't need to waste them, but it's the smaller ones that make the best eating. Now, last night, I'll just give this a stir. Last night, I went to the shops to get some ingredients. And turn that down a bit, and they didn't have any. Well, they had one like big barrel full of big pumpkins, but I didn't want that. So I went again out this morning, went to the dinner shop, and then got all sorts of pumpkins and squashes in there. But there was one, and I had to buy it, and I wanted to show you this. And this is a picture of how sweet, how cute is that? Look at that! And apparently it's called a munchkin. Munchkin pumpkin, how sweet is that? That is so sweet. So that's even a small one, but that super sweet. So that's going to stay there, and I'm going to roast that at some point down the line. Now, back to our tagine. I'm chatting away. Let's back to my tagine. Now, you can put everything and anything that you fancy to go in there. The theme of it is a root vegetable tagine, but I'm going to put some pumpkin in here and also some butternut squash. Let me put that down. So our onions are just starting to brown. Now, one of the biggest tips I can give anyone is cook your onions longer. If you do that, you'll get a lot more flavour into whatever dish you're making. So whether it be a curry, a stew, a casserole, a soup, a bolognese, anything at all, if you start by cooking your onions and you just relax a bit, and let them cook, you'll get a lot more flavour in the end for your dish, whatever that dish is. So I'm going to let my onions carry on cooking for another minute or so, and I can whiz around the rest of the ingredients. So I've got pumpkin, which I mentioned. I've also got some butternut squash under there, and also I've got some carrots and chickpeas too. Now, tagines tend to have a little bit of sweetness to them. It's a sort of like a balance between a spicy thing and a sweet thing. So I've also got here some apricots, ordinary dried apricots, just chop them up. Now, to give this a bit of extra flavour, I've got cumin, I've got coriander, I've got a big load of garlic, and I've also got some parsley. But you can put everything and anything that you fancy. I'm just going to shut the door. There we go, that's better. But you really put everything and anything that you fancy into it. You know, it's what you've got to hand. So if you've got peppers, if you've got mushrooms, if you've got courgettes, if you've got aubergines, potatoes, almost anything can go in. Now, my onions are now starting to brown, starting to become translucent, and they're kind of doing their own thing now. So I can start to add the other ingredients. And because I've chopped everything up, done the work really, so it's just a matter of putting stuff in and letting it simmer away, and it can do its own thing. So I've got here parsley, coriander, cumin, paprika, and also lots of garlic. Now, if you're not a fan of garlic, don't put it in, but I love the stuff, so I'm going to put that in. So in we go with that. And I didn't put the garlic in straight away because it has a tendency to burn and it gets a little bit bitter if that happens. So that's why I let the onions cook first and then add the other ingredients. Now, it's funny, despite cooking the onions and the garlic, it's the cumin that's making that the lovely aroma in this dish. And you can make it, you can make it spicy. You can put lots of chili in there, or you can make it more herby. Really is up to you. So that's doing its own thing. So we can now start to put in our other ingredients. So let's get our carrots in, already chopped, handy, hey? And our butternut squash and pumpkin. And the colour, hopefully you can see that, how vibrant this is. Really is lovely. And some turnips in there. Now, to give this a bit of protein, because the vegetables are really healthy, but there's not a lot of protein in that. So I want to add a bit of protein to kind of make it a little more balanced. And I've got some chickpeas. You can put any beans that you fancy into this, or pulses. Really good source of protein, quite cheap as well, so it's quite handy. And to be honest, I'm a big fan of chickpeas. So in we go with our chickpeas. And as I mentioned, often tagines have some sweetness to it. Now, apricots are common, but you could put almost any fruit that you fancy. You could put sultanas in there, you could put raisins in there, you could put apple in there, you could put plums. Prunes, anything that you fancy is quite commonplace. So in we go with our lovely apricots. And I've also got some tomatoes. Now, on the recipe, I think it says tin tomatoes, but I looked in my cupboard, well, not cupboard, on my side, and I've got quite a few tomatoes, and I thought, well, there's no point buying any more. I'm going to use this one. So I've got some fresh ones. I think it's piling up there, isn't it? It is piling up there. And this is just going to cook away beautifully. Now, two more ingredients, some stock. Now, that's just ordinary vegetable stock. I'm making this as a vegetarian dish. In fact, it's a vegan dish. So I'm not going to put any, I'm going to keep it right and make sure that I put the right sort of stock in there as well. And finally, at this stage anyway, I'm going to put some tomato puree in there. So you can see it's quite a big blob. This really is going to add to the flavour and the colour of our tagine. Now you could put all this into a casserole dish, put it in the oven and slow cook it for a couple of hours. It would come out beautifully. Or you can cook it on a pan like I'm doing and just let it simmer away. But the longer you cook it, the greater the flavour it's going to be. So that's all the work done for this tagine. So I'm just going to set this to one side. I've got my gas cooker just to the left of me. So I'm just going to pop it on there and let it simmer away while we talk more and make some more dishes. Now, just to finish off, I've got some flaked almonds. And I'm just going to fill as a little bit of a garnish right at the end. So that's what they're for. I've not forgotten to put those in. So I'll put that there. I'm going to move this out of the way. Sorry for disappearing. This is bubbling away. I wish you could see. I wish you could smell this. Well, you might be able to. So your chefs may be making this. They may be in the kitchen now, giving it a stir, checking on it, thinking, is it right? Do I need to peel it? Do I not need to peel it? Well, you need to peel it. It's up to you. It's completely edible by not peeling any of those veg. But sometimes it can be a little bit tough. So, some chefs will, some chefs won't, but I did today. So let's pop this to one side. And that's gonna just simmer away and do its own thing nicely. Okay, right, the next dish that I want to show you is some flapjack. Now, I'm a really big fan of flapjack. I think it's great stuff. I like getting out and about, running and cycling, and walking and having some homemade flapjack. Just, when you stop and you have a bit of a nibble, it's really, really a nice treat. And almost anything, not quite, can go in to your flapjack. So let me get my ingredients today. Okie dokie. So, on we go with our pan. So, to give this a bit of a Halloween or autumnal feel, the flavourings of this are in here. Now, you can chop and change whichever way you want to do it. You can leave it completely plain and not have that extra spice, but I'm going for a little bit of spice. So I've got some nutmeg, I've got some ginger, and I've also got just a little bit of clove. Now, clove is quite a powerful... Let's do some cooking while I'm chatting. There we go. Clove is a very powerful spice. So for my palate, anyway, less is more with that. Just a small hint of clove is enough for me. You can also use allspice as well, not to be mixed up with mixed spice. Mixed spice is combination spice. Allspice is singular spice, very similar to clove. So either of those will do. You can also just put mixed spice in this and have done with it. It will work out. So into my pot, I've got quite a bit. Turn that down. There we go. Quite a bit of margarine in here. So I'm doing this dairy-free. This is a vegan margarine, but whichever way your chefs are doing it, that's the way they're doing it. So I've also got some sugar. Now, the sugar to be used, it's quite noisy, this cooker, I do apologise. Let's get my sugar in. There we go. The sugar to use, really, you can use white sugar, but with brown sugar, you're adding a whole extra level of flavour to your finished product. Now, you can use brown sugar and white sugar, almost interchangeable in many things, but this sort of stuff, it's much better to use a dark brown sugar. You'll just get that extra bit of flavour. Now, I've also got some golden syrup. Now, if you've not got golden syrup, any kind of syrupy, any syrup, in fact, will do. So you can sometimes get flavoured ones, that will work, but I'm going to go for golden syrup. Now, I love the stuff, so I'm going to give it a real good squeeze, and then why not? Let's add a bit more. There we go. So in we go with our spices. I'm just going to move some of these bits out of the way. So the last two ingredients, I need my chopping board. So I'm just going to move this out of the way. Okay, so our last two ingredients are oats. Obviously, you need oats for your flapjack. Any sorts of oats are fine. You can get the rolled ones. You can get the ones that are a little lighter, that have been milled a little bit more. They'll all work, but you'll just get a slightly different texture with the flapjack at the end. There's no right or wrong. It's just whatever you fancy. Let me just put my cooker back on again. There we go. Okay, and the last ingredient that I'm going to put in are some dried apricots. Now, any dried fruit will, in fact, any fresh fruit will work really well in a flapjack. So if you've got, like I said, cherries, they work well, or pineapple, or sultanas, anything like that. chop it up and chuck it in. It really will add lots of flavour and colour, but also natural sweetness, and also a little bit of fibre as well. So you're getting a few bits of good stuff in there along with the sugar. So let's just give this a bit of a chop, and then we can pop them in, and I'll show you what's going on in the pan. Let's just get that in like so. I've also done this before with prunes. It might sound a strange thing to put into a flapjack, but you know, it really did work out very, very well. So what we got in here is our nice, oh, it does smell nice, I must admit. You get that hit every now and again of that sort of sugary smell you get from the golden syrup. Really is quite delightful. So I just want to make sure, put that down, that it is, the margarine is thoroughly melted, and then I can add, there we go, and then I can add the oats. Now the combination, you know, the ratios are all in the recipes. However, you can just kind of do it by eye, to be honest. When it looks nice and moist, it's probably about right. If you put too much in, then the final, too many oats in there, it can get a bit dry. So there is something to watch out for. But generally, it's real, you know, it's a guesswork. It's a bit of this and it's a bit of that, and it generally will work out well. Because unlike baking a cake, where you've got to get to rise, you've got to get the right amount of liquid in there. With this, it's not going to rise. It's just going to sit there and bake, and then chop it up, chop's done. Really easy. Okie doke. Right, so let's get our oats in here, and just give this a bit of a stir. So just want to make sure everything gets coated nicely. And one last ingredient I'm going to put in is just a tiny bit of salt. Now, I do find that the salt just enhances the flavour. You don't want to put too much in, but it just enhances the flapjack flavour just a little bit. You end up, you can see that, all shiny and gorgeous. That, probably put a little bit more oat in there. There we go, that'll do. Pop that to one side, don't need that anymore. Just make sure it's all thoroughly coated. And there are no dry bits of oats in there, and then we're done. Now I've got my oven on already, so this shouldn't take very long to bake at all. Now, when it's done, and it'll take about, depending on, you know, your oven, but it should take about 12 to 15 minutes thereabouts to cook. Now, it'll be still soft when it first comes out of the oven, and as it cools, it starts to firm up. Now, back in when I was this big, that was that big, I remember making it, and it was the first time I'd ever made it, and I knew that the product, the end, would be quite firm and chewy. But every time I prodded it in the oven, it was still soft. Of course it was, because it was still hot. And I was like, oh. So it went on for, you know, about an hour or so, and I thought, well, I've got to bring it out. So I brought it out because the cooking time was about 20 minutes. So it's way, way over. And of course, as it cooled, it became very, very hard. I mean, almost that sort of hard. So lesson learned for me. So in our tray, in we go with our lovely mixture. Don't waste any. In we go. Get rid of that. I just added, as I disappeared, I just added a little bit more water to the tagine pot. So what I want to do now is just take my time and just spread this lovely mixture out fairly evenly. And this is going to go into bake for about 15-20 minutes, thereabouts, until it starts to look a little bit more golden, which is kind of golden colour now. Now, because as it when it cools, it gets quite hard, it's as well to slice it or partially slice it as it has just cooled a little bit, but not completely cooled. So then just take your time, press this down like so. So that when you slice it, you should still get a nice piece in the corner and down the edges. Now, it's Bake Off tonight. We're watching Bake Off. I like Bake Off. And it's these little bits, these bits of attention to detail that the judges are always looking at. But also, you know, your home bakes and your professional caterers, just having that extra bit of attention will just make the presentation. And of course, you know, they say we eat with our eyes, just to make sure that it just looks as good as it can do. You end up with something, Jean's bubbling away over there nicely. So it looks as good as it can. So you end up with something like so. And if you've got a sweet tooth, I didn't think I did, but it turns out I do. You can add a little bit more syrup on there. And this one, I've actually got, this is the maple syrup. So it's just got that extra level of flavour. So I just want to drizzle a little bit over the top like so, just for a treat. Why not? Just for a treat. So let's pop this into the oven, and we'll see that in a little while. So let's pop this over here. Here we go. Lovely, lovely. Now, the next dish that I want to show you is, well, it's the chocolate pot, and there's a little biscuit that goes with that. So I'm going to start with the biscuit, and I'll come back to the actual chocolate pots in a moment. Let's just bring these up. So here we have our ingredients. Okay, so baking biscuits. I know you can buy biscuits and they're cheap, and you know you can get shortage and you get this and you can get that, but there's something really satisfying about baking. And the baking the stuff that you can buy for cheap, you know, you can buy, you know, just to see if you can create it. So these are little shortbreads, really simple shortbreads. Well, the beauty of them is that you can add, as you can with any home bake, or you can add your own twist on there, your own interpretation of it for your own palate. So for this one, in we go with our margarine. I'm just going to rinse my hand. It's a bit awkward that. Also want to add my sugar, so I'm adding around about 100 grams of sugar or thereabouts. I want to give this a nice stir so it gets all mixed up beautifully. Now the margarine that I've got in here is a dairy-free one, but butter's great, will work out really well. So just give this a good old stir. It all comes together nicely. Now, I remember making these biscuits for a group, and I was doing it on like a video thing like this, a little Zoom, and I used an electric whisk thing, and when I switched it on, because I got dry ingredients, it sprayed everywhere. So I thought, well, lesson learned, I shall just use a old-fashioned chef's spoon and bowl. So I'm just making sure that everything is thoroughly mixed in, and now I can add the flavors I fancy. Now you can put almost anything that you fancy in. I'm a big fan of ginger, so I'm going to put a little bit of dried ginger in there. But also, like, I'm getting into the nutmeg as well. So I'm going to put a little bit of nutmeg in there too. Wonderful. Now, just to give this an extra dimension, I'm going to put in some orange zest. Now, I do apologise if this sounds a bit noisy when I'm doing this, but the flavour, the smell from the orange, so good. Now this is kind of like a two-stage process. Let's just get a little bit more in. There we go. There we go, that'll do. And also a little bit of vanilla. In we go with vanilla, like so. Now, if you're catering for anyone that doesn't have any alcohol in their diet, then do watch out for the vanilla, because vanilla has sometimes got a little bit of alcohol in there, preserving it. So obviously you want to make sure that you respect the people's views not on having any alcohol, and you wouldn't use that type of vanilla. So you could just use fresh vanilla paste, that would be fine. I'll give this a bit of a stir, like so. We're nearly done with this, And then we can put it in our flour. This is plain flour, so I don't want it to rise. Let's just move this out of the way for a second. Just bring this together. Now you can't rush this. This is one of these jobs where if you rush it, you'll make a mess. So what I want to do is to just bring this together as a dough, and then because the fat is so soft, if I was to roll it out as it is and then put it into the oven, they would just melt before they actually started to bake. So this is why I was saying it's a two-stage process. So when you've brought your dough together, as you can sort of hopefully see now that it is starting to get that way, you then need to sort of put it into a bowl or wrap it up and then put it into the fridge so it can chill. Of course, if you're in a rush, you could just pop it into the freezer and that would be fine. But you should end up with something that looks like that. Okay, so you've got, it's fairly sort of crumbly and light, but when you bring it together, you should end up with something like that. Okay, so I have, as you would imagine I would have done, made some a little earlier. So here we are with the dough that I made a little bit earlier. So this has been in the fridge, so it's a bit firmer, obviously, because the fat, it's very warm in this kitchen, is melting very quickly, and obviously the more you touch it, the more you stir it, it's going to melt even more. So what I want to do is just to grab my rolling pin, just lightly dust the work surface. Now it's up to you, but the thinner you make the biscuits, I'm just adding a bit more water to that. The thinner you make the biscuits, the more delicate they are. However, if you make them too thin, you won't be able to lift them up. So it's a bit of a balancing act. If you make them too fat, they're kind of a bit clumsy. So this feels much better. It's a lot firmer and ready to go. So all I'm going to do is, don't want to touch it that much, my hands are very warm. It's just to bring this together and then very carefully, very lightly start to roll this out. Now, it's Halloween coming up, so these biscuits be shaped in a Halloween theme, or you could just go for something, whatever shape that you fancy doing. So if you're wanting to do any bats or anything like that, that's nice. Or if you want to do little faces, that works well. Or cats, or hearts, or gingerbread shape, or any of those things. Really is up to you. So I've got my biscuit rolled up. So I need my cutter. Now, when I went to the shops this morning to see if I could find a bat or a cat, I couldn't. But I've got a little gingerbread, I guess, cutters, and I've got a star, and I've got a heart. So I'm just going to do those today. So let's just cut out a couple of these. And I've got my baking tray just over here. Let's carefully place my dough on here. And another good tip is to pop this, when you've roll them out back in the fridge or the freezer for another 5 minutes or so, just to keep them nice and cold before they go into the oven to bake. It does depend on the type of fat that you use, but this one is very, very soft, so it would be very easy for the dough to melt before it actually bakes. So let's just grab a bit more, and then we can put few last biscuits on there. Get that into the oven. I think I have a heart shape somewhere, so I'm going to do a heart as well. Now, when you come to decorate them, obviously, anything that you fancy, you can do. You could buy little pens for marking, so it could be an activity that everyone could take part in. So, you know, people could mix these, and your chefs could bake them, and then you could decorate them. You could put names on them, people's names, all sorts of different things. You know, the creativity is up to you. So let's put a heart on there. And maybe one more, why not? Now this actual mixture does freeze very well too. So if you have got some spare, then just wrap it up, label it, and then pop it in the freezer, and then you can use it on another time. That will do for today. I'm not going to waste any of the bits that you've seen to one side. They all will get used. If you want to, you can I've gone for a gingerbread shape. I don't know what Halloween theme that is. Anyway, I've got some hearts too. Could be Valentine's. Who knows? You can dust a little bit of granule sugar on the top there, and as it bakes, and then when you bring it out, you'll have sort of crunchy bit on the top too, which is lovely. But I'm just going to leave these as they are. So I'm going to pop these into the oven. And have a bit of a tidy down. So I'm just going to move this out of the way. Give my hands a rinse. I'd like to bring back, if I may, the tagine, so you can have a look how gorgeous this is looking now. Grab a spoon. Have a look at that. So we've got all those veggies all doing their own thing, all starting to cook down. If you wanted to do it a slightly different way, you could roast the veggies first and then combine it together. That's worked well. That just, say so myself, is looking lovely. Wonderful. So I just want to add, let's see that, a little bit more water to this, and then it's just going to carry on cooking, but it really is not that far off. It should take around about 40 minutes or so to cook it through properly. If you want to cook it for a lot longer, of course, you can do, but it will be done then. So I'm just going to splash a bit more water in here, and then let that carry on doing its thing. Okay then, so our next dish. Now this may, if I tidy up, there we go. Clean as you go. So the next dish I want to show you is quite an interesting twist, really. Let me bring my ingredients up for you. So it's mac and cheese I'm making. Now, there's lots of different ways to make mac and cheese. Years ago, I didn't get my head around this properly. Years ago, I worked as a chef for the Youth Hostel Association. And one of my jobs as a cook there was to make mac and cheese. And the first time I did it, I really didn't get it that mac and cheese meant macaroni. So I used little ribbons, and people ate it, it tasted nice. But then it was commented, it's not mac and cheese. It's like, well, why is it not mac and cheese? Because it's not macaroni. So, yes, mac and cheese is macaroni. Of course it is. It's obvious when you know the answer, but until that point, I didn't really know. So what I've done is I've cooked, pre-cooked the macaroni, and then just so it doesn't all stick together, I've just put a little bit of oil on there. So if you can see a little reflection of light, then that's what that is. I've also got, I'm doing this a slightly different, maybe a different way from the way you may try it, because this is I'm doing this without actually using any cheese. It's kind of a different way of doing it. I've also got some cashew nuts over here. Now I've been soaking these for a couple of hours so they're nice and soft, and I'm going to blend those with some chopped garlic and some roasted butternut squash. And you can use pumpkin, doesn't matter, either of those will work well, or even sweet potato. All of those things are pretty much interchangeable. So what I've done is just roasted these and I'm going to blend them all together as a sauce. Now to give this, get it out, just to give this a sort of cheesy flavour, I've got this stuff here. I don't think you've seen this before. It's Engevita. Engevita is nutritional yeast flakes. You get it in the supermarkets. And it kind of adds lots of B vitamins, which is pretty nice. But it also has a slightly cheesy flavour to it. So if you want to make a cheesy sauce, then this is quite a useful product to have. And finally, almost finally, I've also got some herbs over here, just to give it a nice flavour. So let's bring my bowl up and my spoon, and we can make it all happen. Now, I do apologise. I'm going to make a little bit of noise. I don't really want to make a bit of noise, but I'm going to have to make some noise. So I'm just draining these cashews. So we've got our cashew nuts. We've got our roasted pumpkin. We've got some garlic. If you're not into garlic, don't put it in. Or dish. And I've also got some herbs, in we go with that. Italian herbs, mixed herbs, whichever you fancy. And also a little bit of water. Now, I may add a bit more as I go along, but for the time being, I'm just going to add a small amount. So start off with that, and this is where I'm going to make some noise. I do apologise. And I do hope that this doesn't spray everywhere, so I get everything to balance. Put that there. There we go. I do apologise if this makes a noise. There we go. So what I'm trying to do is to create a little sauce. It's very much like making a cheese sauce in many ways, but I'm not actually using any cheese. Of course, traditionally, the mac and cheese would have lots and lots of cheese in there. So I'm doing it with cashew nuts, which are a great source of protein, really high in protein. They've got a lovely creamy texture, and certainly worth having a go. Okay, in we go with the Engevita. The sort of yeast flakes, so blend it together. We're nearly done all the work. It really is as easy as that. So you can start to see, hopefully, that this sauce is coming together nicely. There we go. That will do. Sorry about that noise, everyone. I do apologise. Lovely. Okay, so move that out of the way. Bring our pan up. All happening. It's all happening. So all we do then is to put our sauce into the pan, to warm this through gently. And then we can add our macaroni into here, just to heat it through. That, pretty much, that really is easy as that. So this should just get coated nicely. And of course, you could do this with just cheese sauce and macaroni. But this one is a nice variation from that. Sorry about the beeping. And then what you can do is to put some breadcrumbs on the top and then bake it under the grill or in the oven. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it onto two individual portion sizes and then pop that into the oven. So we end up with 2 little trays like that. And then we can put in our individual serving. The smell, actually, it's the garlic that I put in. It was only one clove, but nevertheless, it is quite strong. So this is just going to go into the oven for 10 minutes or so, just to heat through properly, and then we'll see that towards the end as we finish at 12:30 or thereabouts. Lovely, and that's it. So a little twist on the old traditional mac and cheese, nice and easy. And then just to give it a little extra flavour and glaze, splash of olive oil on the top. And this is going to go into the oven, and we'll see this in about 10 minutes. Okay, right then. So my last dish that I want to show you how to make is a very, very easy little dessert, chocolate pots, and these go along with the biscuits. So the idea is you have the chocolate pot and you have the biscuit, and with an individual name or the pattern or whatever you fancy, and then you can have a bit of chocolate and you can have a bit of biscuit and you can dunk it in, and it's kind of really nice sort of combination of the two, and it uses tofu. Now, tofu is, I'm a big fan of this stuff, I really am, but if you don't add any flavour to it, it's very, very bland and boring, and some people have had it and they've said, oh, you recommended it, but I didn't like it. Well, if it's cooked well, it's delicious, but there's no flavour in it of itself unless you buy a brand that is flavoured. Now, for this recipe, you need to get silken. Certainly a plain version of tofu. You don't want a smoked one, you don't want the one that's got tomatoes in it or spices. It has to be absolutely plain for this dish to work. So I need that. I also need, I've got a cooker over here with all sorts of things balancing. You also need some sweetener. Okay, so it's a pudding, so it's a little pudding. So again, you can use maple syrup, you could use golden syrup, or you could just use ordinary sugar as you fancied. A little bit of vanilla and also some cocoa powder. And all we do is blend this together. So if I can bring up my little blender over here, and this will make a bit of noise. I do apologise, but it's going to be over very, very soon. So with the silken tofu, sometimes called bean curd as well. It's the same thing. But what's good about this is that it's high in protein, and it's also got calcium in there, and also some fibre. It's not very high in calories, but it has got lots of protein. So all we do is tip the whole thing straight in like so. Get rid of that, don't need that. Add something to make it taste nice. So spoonful of sugar, as the old song used to go. So I've got some maple syrup, in we go with that. And we can then pop some cocoa powder in there. Two big spoonfuls of cocoa powder, that will do. And our vanilla. We're nearly done, and just to my left over here, hope it's melted, I have, there we go, I have some chocolate already melted, ready to go in. Now it's going to be very hot. I'm going to have to use my oven mitt on there, very, very dapper with rabbits on it. So in we go with some of that. I don't need to put it all in because I'm going to use some of it as a bit of a garnish at the end. Pop that back over there. And then all we do, and I do apologise again, is to put our lid on. I am going to make a little bit of noise. And this is the last time I've been making a racket. So all you do, press it in, give it a shake. One more time. one for luck. Okie doke. And then move that out of the way. Don't need that anymore. Then all we do is to pour this into our serving dishes. Now you can put them into little egg cups because it's quite a strong, rich little dessert. But I'm just going to put them into these slightly larger ones so that you can see them. Now all this here, later on when we're finished, I'm going to get a teaspoon in there and I'm going to eat all that. So that's definitely not going to go to waste. So in we go. Pour our lovely mixture in here like so. So this is high in protein, so it's pretty good as a little dessert. Get some more out there. You gonna get any more out? Is any more coming out? There we go. Not going to waste any of that either. So we're going to serve that with, don't need that anymore, with our biscuits. Now let's have a look to see how well our biscuits are done. Oh, so when the biscuits come out, they're going to look, hopefully you can see that, it looks a bit kind of brown on brown. They'll look nice and golden and they're still soft. But they need to cool a little bit. And when they're cooled, organised I am, they'll end up nice and crispy. Here's one I did earlier. So you can hear it. It's lovely and crispy. Okay, and then you can just decorate it with those little icing, these little pens, and you can write messages. And I've got a heart here. B for Barchester, of course it would be. And I don't know quite what I was doing there, but I don't know quite, it's a little character there, and a heart as well. So all we do there is to grab ourselves a plate, and then we can serve these as a little pudding. So we've got our little dippy biscuits over here, like so. And then we can put our little pots in the middle. So the idea is you get one of these and you have that, and you just have a little dip in there. And then just to finish off, when we get nice and fancy, you can then take some of the chocolate that we've melted. And you can either obviously use it to coat the biscuits, but what I tend to do is to just a little bit on top of these nice chocolate pots. Now, if you were to refrigerate this, what would happen is that the chocolate pot would set a little bit, and the actual chocolate would then set completely. So you get a sort of like a big, I guess, a button, like a Cadbury's button. And if we want to make it lovely and fancy, we can also get our posher chocolate and just put a little bit around here, so people can have a little nibble and a dip and a little try. Very tasty. So that's our completed dish, or one of them anyway, today. So that's our little chocolate pot with a dipping biscuit. I can find a space behind me. I'm getting a bit cluttered behind me. Okay, so back to our nice flapjack. So here we have our lovely flapjack. So it's just been cooling. So hopefully I'll be able to slice this. We can have a piece of this. I hope everyone's getting to try some of these dishes today. I do like cooking for people, but one of the nicest things about cooking is being able to share that experience. So here we have our little flapjacks. Oh, lovely, beautiful tray of flapjacks there. So I'm certainly going to be enjoying those, and I hope that you're getting to sample some of this as we go along. But let's pop that to one side, and then we can think about our tagine. Well, our tagine is nearly done, pretty much done. So we've got it all looking nice and lovely and rich. So we can serve this now. So if we just bring a serving dish up. Now, often tagine is served with couscous, can be served with rice as well, or bread, but or potatoes in fact. Often it's couscous, but I'm really going through a stage where I just can't eat enough bread. I'm just like, oh, I just love the stuff. So I'm going to serve mine today with a nice slice of bread, which I'm just going to bring over here. Let's just pop that there. We still want to make it look a little jazzy, so we can put a good slice of bread on there, and you can dip that into the nice tomatoey sauce, like so. And then, if you remember the garnish, there we are. So our garnish, of course, we have the little nuts on there. So you just put a few nuts on there, and then a little bit of green, like so, and it just kind of, you see that, just kind of lifts it up with a bit of colour. And if you want to just go that extra thing, you can put just a tiny splash of olive oil on the top. Of course, that's going to increase a few calories, but it's just going to give it a nice taste in the mouth. But it's also going to just make it look slightly more attractive because you get the reflection of the light. Now, I've got one last dish to just bring out of the oven, which is the mac and cheese. But I just wanted to show you a couple of publications, if I may. I work for a charity called Vegetarian for Life. Lucy introduced me at the start. And we've got a whole range of information for vegans and vegetarians. It also applies to lots of different people. So, but our latest one, if you're interested, is food fortification for vegans. Lots of information on there about how to fortify properly, and you can get this. You can to order it, or you can just get it as a PDF for free from our website. Got lots of other stuff. Got lots of information on nutrition. Lots of information on baking and cooking. So I would urge you to have a look at our website. Lots of stuff on there that's certainly worth having a look at that. So little plug for that. And then finally, bring my last dish out of the oven. We have our mac and cheese, which is boiling hot. It's absolutely boiling hot. So we've got our mac and cheese. Let me just grab a plate so I can sit it on that, and you can have a little look at that, like so. So we've got a nice version of mac and cheese, like so. So it's really hot. Really, I'm not gonna bite into that at the moment. It's too hot. So we're now coming towards the end of our little cookery demonstration and time together. So if Lucy is about, she'll come back as if by magic. And if there are any questions, then I'll be able to answer those as they come in. Also, we've got a tray of flapjack as well. Look at that. We've got a lovely tray of flapjack. So, wow,
Alex.
what a feast. What a feast in an hour. That's not bad, is it?
It's amazing. I don't know about you, everybody that's watching, but amazing. It's great to see you cook it, but great to see how you like display it as well. And these 4 different dishes and how you've managed your time to keep going back between the 4 of them has been fantastic. So we do have a couple of questions and quite well, maybe one question and then lots of feedback. And then I've got some questions for you as well, Alex. Okay, so I'll start with Florence Court on YouTube have said they've been discussing their favorite cheeses. What is your favorite to cook with?
So could you say the whole question again?
Yeah, they've been discussing their favorite cheeses. What is your favorite to cook with? I guess this is from a vegetarian standpoint, rather than vegan.
Well, I don't have a favorite cheese. I really don't have a favorite cheese. However, I did have last night some, I think it's Wednesday day with apricots in it. And there was a time in my life when I just really didn't like any bits in cheese. I thought it's just kind of covering over the flavour of the cheese. That was pretty nice. I also like the cranberries in there as well, a similar thing. But I guess I'm going to go for quite a sharp Cheshire cheese. So it has like a sour note on that. So I would go for that, or a Wednesdaydale that's got that sour note. I quite like that sour note, but do you know, difficult not to like any cheese really.
All cheeses are well.
It's not quite an arbitrary decision, but years ago I remember I went to a little cafe and they said they'd got the Cheshire cheese sandwiches. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And it wasn't Cheshire cheese. It really wasn't. It was just this nondescript bland thing, and it really didn't have. I was like, oh, we're in Cheshire. This should be cream, but it wasn't. So I'm going to go for a Cheshire cheese. Cheshire cheese, yeah. Why not?
Cheshire cheese is your answer to that one. Great. We've got lots of comments coming through, and I was fascinated by how you make a cheese sauce with cashew nuts. Like, is that something that actually tastes like cheese, or are you just saying it's the texture?
It's a bit cheesy. What gives it the cheesy flavour is, if I just set that down and I can bring back the container. It's this one here. Now this enchovita. Now this is yeast essentially, and this has a slightly cheesy flavour, slightly cheesy, nutty type flavour. So it's this that's adding the cheese flavour. The cashew nuts are really giving it body and also adding protein to the sauce. So it's this one that's giving it the flavour. But there's certain properties that cheese has that this doesn't have. As a sauce, it's fine, but with the cheese, you get those like stringy bits going on. This won't have the stringy bits. So if you're looking at that stringy bits, then you're going to stick to standard cheese or find a pre-made vegan cheese. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good, but it's not the same. It's different. It's different texture. But you will see this. I don't want to plug Bake Off too much. I have a life outside of Bake Off. But anyway, it's these sorts of shows. They're highlighting these products that have been around for years and years and years and years. And as vegetarianism and veganism becomes more mainstream, lots of people are trying different dishes using products that have been around since the 1970s or more, and incorporating them into dishes. I think I saw Jamie Oliver the other day, and he was doing something. He was creating something vegan, and he used this as well. So it's definitely worth, and it's full of B vitamins. Definitely worth using, but it can take a little practice to use it. It looks a bit odd. If you've had a goldfish or the stuff inside, it reminds me of the stuff you used to sprinkle on the top. But there you go. That's the cheesy bit.
Excellent. Okay, so Upton Bay said our chef has made some pumpkin soup and pumpkin pie to try this afternoon. Residents have been saying they have enjoyed this, loving the demonstration from all of us at Upton Bay. Great.
Hello, Upton Bay.
Hi, Upton Bay. I don't know if you can see us. Give us a wave. Tispany said that we've enjoyed the flapjack at Tispany. The Spires, which is Wilma, have tried samples of mac and cheese, pipe biscuits and choc pots made by our chef Kev. So well done to Wilma and the Spires and Kev for trying all those out, which is great.
Brilliant work.
We've had more. Flapjack is doing well. Flapjack was the firm fave here at Ashby House. Which is great, and we've got lots of thank yous from YouTube. Mark, who is at Thistle Hill, he's commented. He said our residents found this really interesting, this demonstration, and Hazel asks, would you come and work at Thistle Hill? So that's a job application right there for you, Alex, to come and work.
Where are you? Where is Thistle Hill?
Oh, I'm not entirely sure. Mark, let us know, where exactly are you, and Alex will look into that for you. Get that into the chat. Because Alex, you're doing live demonstrations in person now as well, aren't you?
Say again.
You're doing them live in person as well, not just on Zoom.
Oh yes. Sorry, yeah, we've started to as we've come out of the lockdown stuff. I'm now doing live demonstrations. So on Friday, I'm in Wigan doing a cookery demonstration, North Manchester, if you're not familiar. And I was also in Wigan as well last Monday I'm going to be in Manchester in a couple of weeks doing a cookery demonstration. So, but yeah, I'm actually going out and about, so, which is lovely. Because here, you know, I've got, you know, the chaos that you can't, well, you can see a bit of the chaos behind me, but actually having people and cooking for people is wonderful. And I was making, I don't make ordinary stuff, you know, I make family dishes, traditional dishes. I was making a cottage pie, a vegetarian cottage pie for a group. And I went in, and it was a little community centre, and they've got an oven which is like tiny, and I put it on, and it was like really not heating. So I'm chatting away like, come on, get warm. So we had to kind of do a bit of juggling to get the cottage pie right in the end. It was fine. It was really well received, with some homemade pickled cabbage in there on there as well, which has that nice sort of sharpness and contrast of textures. Which was lovely and well received. And I brought some home as well, so I've got some for my tea tonight, which is quite nice.
Excellent. So just to go back to Mark at Thistle Hill, or Hazel that asked the question, that's in North Yorkshire, so Knaresborough, or in the lovely town of Knaresborough is what Mark said.
Yeah, well, maybe. It's an absolutely beautiful part of the world. So you might hear a phone call in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Watch out. We'll help you out, guys, if you're interested with connections for Vegetarian for Life, because we are members, so we can look into some certain occasions where we can have live demonstrations safely, of course. Wimborne said they're enjoying the flapjacks and the chocolate, which I was watching and so very jealous of. So what happens to all this food now, Alex? Now you've created it, where does it go?
Yes, all this. Some of it's going to get frozen. So for my tea tonight, I've still got the shepherd's pie left over from yesterday, so I'm going to eat that. And I'm going to have a small portion of the tagine, but that's going to go into the freezer. The chocolate pots won't be here after 4 o'clock. The bits of biscuit that I haven't rolled out, that will get labelled and put into the freezer for another day. And the macaroni, I'll be my lunch tomorrow. So it's all going to get in. None of it ever gets wasted, of course. Yeah, I've got a bit of washing up behind me, but I've got a lot of lovely dishes to cook. To eat in the next coming days. Yeah, one of the pleasures about doing this is to be able to do that. And following from your thoughts about doing live demonstrations, if you are interested in me coming and doing an event, then do get in touch, because this is what we do. We've got a team of chefs across the country. There's one in Glasgow, one in Manchester, that's me, one in Birmingham, and one in London. So if you would like someone to come in to do a cookery demonstration or an event or a supper club or something like that, and I know restrictions are still in place in many centres, but if we can do something safely, then we're very happy to do that. So do get in touch, and we can see if we can work out. So have a look at our website. I'll send an email in to the inquiries, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Or email me directly. And
yes, of course, yeah, of course, yeah. We've also got a pen pal scheme. I should mention that we've got a pen pal scheme. So if anyone is vegetarian and they want us to kind of have a pen pal, get in touch and we can arrange that. That's easy as well.
Brilliant. That sounds amazing. Well, just one last question for you, Alex, before we call it today, and it's from me. Oh, also Laura McAllister is enjoying a sherry with their flapjacks over there. We've had a lot of Jaw say nice. Thank you. Milford House is saying thank you. Also, just shout outs for all of the homes that are watching today. I've been looking, if you've got your camera on, I've been checking you guys out. So hi to Westwood, to Julie Staines, to B, and to Zoe Freeman, who I saw providing the food for everybody today. So well done, guys, and I hope you've enjoyed it. So the last question for you, Alex, is what's your favourite dish to cook?
That is an interesting one. I often finish a cookery demonstration by choosing one of the dishes, and sometimes it's really hard to decide between them, and I like not quite arbitrarily, and then but you'll know whether I'm kind of not making it up, but because I'll go that one or that one. But the favourite dish to cook Favorite dish? This is so hard. It really is, because there's so many lovely dishes. There's so many dishes that I like making. There's so many dishes that my partner enjoys eating, and we share together. Do you know? I like making bread. I really enjoy making bread. So I'm going to go bread. I know it's not quite a dish as such, but I really enjoy the process. I like that sort of workout you get from it. I like the sort of science of it, and it all rises. So I'm going to go for bread. However, if you want a specific dish, I'm going to go for pizza. I'm going to go for homemade pizza. Now, I've got a little twist on the way I do pizzas. So instead of making a dough with the yeast in, so it rises, I do a flatbread dough, and then roll it out, and then I cook it on the in a frying pan, so very, very crispy, either side, and then so it's quite crispy at that point, and then I put my toppings on, and then I just flash it under the grill, so that the toppings that were already kind of pre-cooked just sort of heat through thoroughly, and you get a really thin, crispy, delicious, flavorful pizza, you know, the size of a big dinner plate like that, and that is really lovely. And I haven't done that for a little while, so that might be Saturday night, so I might do that. So I'm going to say bread and then into pizza. I also like cottage pie. I made a cottage pie the other day. I was like, oh, I've got to have this. I've got the pickled cabbage with it. It was lovely. It really was like nice, comforting food. But yeah, there's so many dishes, but I'll go with bread.
I knew it was a hard question. It was just a throw-in question to see what you'd come up with, and I think they were great answers. So Alex, thank you ever so much. We're getting some comments in. Friston House, Marriott House have all said thank you, and I will send these comments over to you from the homes. If you're watching and you want to send feedback on the dishes, please do. We're always interested to know whether you enjoyed them and what your favorite was. So do send that in to us either quickly on the chat now or send me an email later. And yeah, Alex, we're hoping to see you in the new year. We know we were just discussing earlier about another cooking demonstration, a live event for next year. So we're going to work on a different themed event that can tie into. Options at the moment are around maybe Burns night or maybe chocolate cake day, or we've got to think this through, but chances are you'll be seeing Alex again in the new year. And thank you for all you do, and thank you for creating the mess in your own very kitchen there for us. We really appreciate that.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to cook for you, and if I can come back in the new year, well, we will. We'll get a date and we'll organise that. So it'll be a real pleasure to come back and do some more cooking. But thank you for inviting me, and thank you for watching, and thank you to all the chefs that have created the dishes and all the nice feedback as well. That's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys.